I've been reading this book, Magicians of the Gods, written by Hancock, one of my favorite people in the world, maybe. And another guy, Randall Carlson from Minnesota. He's kind of a geologist or earth scientist. And they talk about this area of kind of eastern central Washington where the kind of scientific consensus is that there was thousands or maybe millions of floods from the Lake Missoula over many thousands of, or maybe millions of years. And Randall Carlson and a couple other guys have come out and said, no, actually, this was caused by one massive, colossal flood that was unprecedented and probably biblical. And this is a campsite that I found that's kind of by some of the formations and stuff that they talk about in the book, and what's left of this flood, and the kind of lines that it cut into the earth. So I'm going to be exploring some of this over the next couple of days. Now that I have a little bit of background on the area, it's a lot more interesting. So this landscape in eastern Washington, part of the Washington Scablands, they call it, is, I find to be amazing. Again, now that I know the backstory, it's like the Grand Canyon. There's been several guys that have had the theory, but Randall Carlson is the guy that put me onto it, that about 12,900 years ago, when all of, or half of North America was covered in a glacier, an asteroid hit somewhere in Canada and melted a ton of ice very, very quickly, and that ice, or that water, came rushing down this canyon. Just such a massive amount of water at once that it literally just cut holes, cut slices through the landscape. And I could be wrong, but when you're driving along this canyon, you can actually see receding lines as the floods kind of receded, where they cut lines in the side of the canyon, which is amazing. And this carries on all the way down the Columbia River, also the Snake River Valley. If you've ever been to either, you know they're both a lot like this, very jagged, tall features, really rugged country. And that's why it was a flood, the likes of which the earth possibly had never seen. And you can find evidence of it all the way across North America, even in Minnesota. In my book, Magicians of the Gods by Hancock, here's a picture of Graham and Randall Carlson standing out here, looking out over Dry Falls. What used to be apparently the world's largest waterfall, but it's now dry, because the floodwaters receded, and then they put a dam up there. So now I'm near Boulder Park, a part of Washington that was left when the floods receded. They left these huge boulders all over the landscape, like thousands of tons. They just dropped them here, and you can tell from the texture on them that they were like beat up by water. They were like, might as well have been in an ocean. Then we got some mule deer behind them, and then over here just these beautiful yellow fields with the start of the Cascade Mountain backdrop. I just can't say enough about how underrated this area is. And you drive for hours and you just see these huge boulders that are left. And if you're just making time, you're probably not even thinking about it, how they got there. To imagine that this entire region was once a massive flooded, essentially a river coming from the north from glacial melt. Pretty amazing. I'm captivated.